Hi, I'm Dave, and on today's TRP Tech Talk, we're going to show you our easy plug system, how to connect and also cut the hose of your new mountain bike brake system. The tools needed for this are assorted Allen wrenches, T15 Torx wrench, 8mm open end, torque wrench with 8mm crow's foot, TRP mineral oil, tubing with bleed fitting, hose cover, compression nut, olive and barb, Tektro TRP hose cutter and barb press tool, and nitrile gloves. So what is the easy plug system? Well, it's literally plugs. We have a 6mm Allen headed plug in the lever and a 2mm Allen headed plug threaded into the existing barb. Well, why do we do this? Well, first benefit is allows us to have a full factory bled and pressure check system. That way there's no need for a full bleed after you connect the hose. The second is going to be internal routing. Since the barb is the same diameter as the hose, you can route the whole system through the bike and connect it without needing to cut the hose in the first place. Much cleaner. The third allows us to supply the brakes with a 1900mm hose for both the left and right levers. This way you can orientate your front and rear brakes however you'd like. Now I'm going to show you how to connect and also cut the hose to length for our easy plug system. Let's jump into it. So in the box, along with your system, you'll have a hose cover, compression nut, olive, and barb. Now, I've already installed this brake onto the fork as well as my lever in the desired position so I can get the proper hose length. Now, if you're not gonna need to cut the hose, for example, for a longer rear brake, you can use the existing barb, but make sure to take the 2mm Allen headed plug out as well as the black O-ring underneath it. For this step, we're gonna go ahead and mock up our hose to the lever. Now I like to account for different bar or stem heights as well as giving a nice smooth radius so you don't have any harsh bends or kinks in the line. Go ahead and mark your hose so you know where to cut it later. And at this point, I'm actually gonna set this aside and remove the brake lever. Reason for this is when I get to the connection, I wanna have this brake lever upright so that I minimize any fluid dripping out of it. So using a 4mm Allen, I'm just gonna take this off the handlebar and set this aside. Now we're actually ready to cut the hose. So go ahead and find your mark, and holding this upright, using our hose cutter and barb press tool, slide the hose into the notch section with the blade and cut the hose. Now I'm going to continue to hold this upright so that I minimize fluid dripping out again. Actually, before I get to the lever, we're going to install the hose cover. Now this is going to slide on like this guy, and the compression nut and the threads are going to be going towards the lever, of course. Our olive goes on next with the taper heading towards the compression nut, not the lever, and we're ready to install our new barb. Now I can simply press this in by hand to start with, but I am going to need a hose cutter or barb press tool of sorts to get it fully seated into the hose. Now our tool, you simply squeeze the lever on the side and it will fully seat that barb into the end of the hose. Now we're actually ready to install this into the lever. I'm gonna gently slide that compression nut and barb up so that I'm ready to get these on to put these into the lever. So you can then now remove the plug from the lever itself. And again, I'm keeping this upright so I'm not losing any fluid. And I'm gonna fully seat that hose into the lever, give it a couple shakes, make sure it gets in there fully, and then start to thread the compression nut by hand. Looks like I can get a good amount of turns out of this guy with the hand, and again, pushing on the hose, giving it some pressure. And now using our 8mm opened end, I can give it a couple more turns until I start to feel a good amount of resistance. Now this does have a torque spec. So I'm gonna get my torque wrench out with my 8mm crow's wrench and torque this to spec. Okay, now we are ready to install the lever back onto the handlebar. And I would make sure to contact your bar's manufacturer to torque this to what they would recommend. Slide our compression cover, our hose cover back up, and you should be ready to ride. Now, if there is any air in this system, it's simply gonna be between the hose and the lever that we just connected, and that can be remedied with a simple lever purge, and I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. So to start, we're gonna wanna make sure that our lever is orientated so that the bleed port is the highest point. Next, using the T15 Torx, remove the bleed plug and put this aside for later. And now we're gonna install our piece of tubing with a little bit of fluid in it. Now this can be done in a couple different ways, but fairly simply, you can just bend the tube over and get some fluid into that hose. It doesn't need much, we're just trying to get the bubbles out. We're not actually trying to bleed the system here. And just simply by squeezing the lever, now note I do have a bleed block in between the pads. That's how it came out of the packaging, and that will get me to what would be a rotor's width. And by pushing and pumping the lever, we can hopefully encourage any bubbles that might just be trapped in that area to just float out through that tube, and in turn, the tube of fluid, the fluid will flow down and top the reservoir off. In fact, I can see just a small bubble coming out now. If that was in that system, now it is out, and the lever is actually feeling quite firm and nice. We can go ahead and remove our piece of tubing. Stick this back in the cup so I don't make too much of a mess, and go ahead and reinstall our reservoir plug. I'd wipe that down with just a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and a clean rag. And there you have it, your system is ready to ride. Thanks for watching. I hope this video was helpful. And if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to our customer service team. And for more content like this, check out our website, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I hope to catch you around here later.